Hey everybody, Andrew here. Sunday afternoon, the 12th of January 2014. Now, I spend a lot of time on Irish Vaping Facebook page. Fantastic people on that. Every type of person that you could possibly imagine. You know, weird, wonderful, you know, all of those different things. And one of them, I'm not going to say whether weird or wonderful, is a guy called Michael, and Michael spends a lot of time extolling the virtues of a particular RDA or rebuildable dripping atomizer. So he reckons it's the bee's knees. He uses it the whole time. We go on about these various other things that we have, and he just keeps coming back and saying, but why would you? You know, I mean, all you need is a Clockworks RDA, and frankly, it just does the business and does it brilliantly every time. So I don't have one. I was planning on getting one to see what it was like and do a review, which is what I'm doing now. And Dave Homan, who's another guy on that Facebook page on Irish Vaping, said, well, I don't live too far away from you. I'll drop one into you, give it a go and see what it's like. So he did. So thanks, Dave, and also thanks, Michael, for mentioning this in the first place. So this is the Clockworks, or well, I'll take the drip tip off. This is the Clockworks RDA, rebuildable dripping atomizer. Now, as you see, we're all used to seeing all sorts of very fancy dripping atomizers, and at the moment, you know, amazing stuff coming out. So this is pretty basic looking, to say the least. It's made of aluminium, you have plastic at the top. At the top and at the bottom. You've got one small hole here on the side. And you've got obviously normal 510 connector at the bottom, and it'll take any normal 510 drip tip up at the top. So that's it. It's doesn't get much more basic than that. So what I thought I'd do anyway is, well, we'll go down close on it, have a look at it. I'll put together a coil in it as well. Now the coil that I'm going to put in will be, you know, what I typically use nowadays, which is an M3 coil. It just always works really well and it's very handy. So I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on that. I have a video already about making that coil, so I'll just do it quite quickly. But we'll pop it in and see what it's like, and take it from there. Now what I'm also going to do, just to make this a completely authentic experience, the liquid I'm going to put into it after I've built the coil is going to be navy cut by Mrs. Lords, because basically that's what Michael uses in his. So I'm trying to become Michael in this particular video, so we'll see whether or not I like myself at the end of it or not. So just to show, I'll be going for around around the 1.3 mark as far as the coil is concerned, 1.4. That is similar to what's in this at the moment, and I'll also do it at exactly the same setting as I have this one on. Where are we now? So that's on 3.9 at the moment, and it just works really, really well. Plenty of vapor coming out of that. Before I go on, the Clockworks is available sort of to order, if you like. So what you need to do is get in contact with Steve, who's the guy who makes it, and basically you order from him, it goes into his production line, and at the time when it's ready, then I believe you pay, and then it gets shipped to you, and that's that. There are a number of different variations of it. There's also a tank version of this as well. So let's go down close, we'll take it apart, have a quick look at it, build a coil, and then I'll be back up to this view shortly. Okay, so here it is up close. As I showed, it's a very, very straightforward, you know, fairly basic looking dripping atomizer. Size wise, let's just have a quick look here. It is, from what I can see here, 29, just under 29 in terms of the height, and then width-wise it is a 20. So you can see it there. So that is 20 mils wide. So that's the actual size of it. Now, to take it off, unless you've got good nails, you need to put it onto a mod. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it onto this little stand here, which is kind of handy. And then we just pull it off. And that's what we have on. Well, let's look at the top first. There's the tube. This is made of aluminium. You can get it as straight aluminium, which I think this one is. And then you can get another. You can also get versions where it's anodized and is in, you know, various different colors. So again, you'd need to go to his website just to see, you know, what is actually available. Again, we've got this one air hole, which is pretty small. Now, I don't have the size of it, but you know, it's about. Looks like it's about a mil or something like that. It isn't much more than that anyway. And then we've got this plastic top that goes onto it, and into this goes your drip tip. On the bottom part here, we've got our 2 posts. So this is basically set up for single coil, although I'm sure you could actually set a dual coil up in it, but you'd need to put in a different an air hole on the opposite side here, because obviously for each coil you need an air hole. So if we look at nice and closely there, we've got 2 sort of fairly fancy looking posts, sort of candelabra-like, and in each case then you've got a hole going through, and that's where your wire is going to feed through. Plastic on the deck here. There's no cup here at all. There's no well, if you like. We have an O-ring down here, and you can see there's some sort of a contact coming out from this side to here. Now basically what you know, you don't actually build the coil on that side. You will always be building the coil on this side here, so the coil will sit there between the 2 of them. What's important to know is here, well, first of all, if we look at the connector at the bottom, I'm sort of slightly mystified as to why it's actually got air holes in it, because obviously this is drawing its air from the side because it's a dripping atomizer, but nonetheless there are air holes at the bottom there. So other than that, it's a straightforward connector. But you will also see just here, let's see if I can get a screwdriver just to show you, just here there is, it's not flush. So that means that when you do screw it onto a mod, and let me see if I can find a mod here that I can screw, well look, I'll just screw it onto the base. If I screw it onto the base here, you can see what happens. That's fully screwed on. So that means that you're never ever going to get it flush. Now in the end, for some people that's not an issue. For me it's no great issue, but if you're somebody who likes everything to be nice and flush, then there will be a problem with it. Now let me just actually just see what it looks like if I stick this onto a Pravari here. Let me screw it on here. That's what you're going to get. That's fully screwed down on a Pravari, and that's what it looks like on top there. So that is something that you need to be aware of. You know, again, for many people that's not an issue, for some people it is. So I think what we'll do is, there's not much more to say about it really other than that. What we'll do is we'll stick it back on the base again and just put a coil into it and see what it vapes like, because in the end that's the most important thing with this is, you know, how does it vape, what does it, you know, what does it taste like, and how does it function. So what we'll do is we'll go a little bit closer up and I'll show you how to put the coil in. I have here a bit of 0.28 Canthal. Now this is about 10 centimeters long. This is, you wouldn't want to be going much shorter than this. What I'm looking to do is about a 6 wrap around this here, which is an M3 coil. So what we need to do is, as I said, to get about a 1.4 ohm coil, 1.5, we need to go around this 6 times. So that is what I'm going to do. So we just lay it on. We're always going to lose the first coil on it. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then what we can do is we can back off the first one. Okay, so that is what we're left with. Now what we need to do here is make sure that the legs are coming out the same side. Now let me just see, have I actually done 6 or have I done 5? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that's, by the way, when your eyes are completely screwed like mine, the easiest way of counting these is with a screwdriver. Is you just basically feel it as it clicks from each one onto the next. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So work it that way. So that's what we have there. And make sure that the leads are coming out on the same side as I said. So that should be good enough to put in. As ever, when you're actually threading these through, and obviously we're threading them through those 2 holes in the middle there, it's always easier to have one longer lead and one shorter lead. It just means you can get the first one in, the longer one in first, and then it means that you've got room to then sort of wrestle the second one into place. So what we need to do basically is put these in, and as I said before, on this particular Clockworks, or any Clockworks I presume, the coil goes in on the opposite side of this, so it's over here that we're actually putting the coil in. So that's where we're going to sight it. So we'll just put the first one in, like that, and then the second one, just if we can find that, just need to back that off a little bit I think. What we do is just shove it through like so. So we end up with something like that. Now if you leave the screw on it, that means that it helps you position it after you've actually tightened these screws up here. So leave the screw in position on it. Okay, so we've pushed that through. All I need to do now is just tighten these up. So there's the first one. It should be tight enough. And now the second one. Again, as ever with these things, you never want to tighten them too much because you can end up cutting the wires. So if I look at one side here, that's what I'm left with. Okay. So what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to angle it up slightly towards the center so that it looks something like that. Now at this stage we can actually cut off our leads here. So let's do that. One off, 2 off. So now we should be good to go. As ever with these coils, what you need to do is tighten them up once they've actually, you've actually put it together. So for that, what we'll be doing is actually taking the screw out and then sticking it onto a mod. Now what will we use? Let's see if I've got one here that's got a battery in it. And we'll put it onto a little nemesis here. Now just pull this back ever so slightly. Screw this off. Screw this on. Okay, and again you can see how that fits onto the nemesis. So there's our coil sitting pretty there at the moment, but as you can see it's quite, if I go up close there, the coils are quite sort of separated from each other. So what I need to do is get those in closer. So to do that I need a tweezers, or in this case I've got little needle nose pliers. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to heat this up, and then when it's hot I'm going to squeeze it with the pliers. So a little bit of smoke as ever that comes off, release the thing, and then basically press it together. So do the same thing again, and again while it's hot, but with no power going through it, press and hold it. Do it one more time. And gently press and hold it. So that's it. Let's see what the resistance is like now. And what are we coming out at? 1.4, so bang on, exactly where I wanted it. And if you actually look at the coil there, you can see nice little hole going through the middle of it. So the next thing to do is just get some cotton through it. Okay, so here I have my cotton, which is just unbleached organic cotton, or hospital cotton in my case. So what we want to do is just basically pull that through there. And what you always want to make sure with cotton is that it's not too tight. I suppose, you know, the natural thing is you're saying, oh, it has to be tight in it for it to actually work. But it doesn't, it really doesn't. And in many cases, the less cotton you have in, the better. Now, as you can see within that there, this moves quite easily. So that's basically what I want, like that. Okay, so there we go. So what I want to do then is with this piece here, I want to tuck that back in underneath, like that. And then with this other piece, I'm just going to basically wrap it around here, like this. Now, usually the easiest thing to do is when you're actually placing the cotton is to basically, you know, dampen it down with some liquid, because it just means you can put it exactly where you want it to go. So let me get some of the Mrs. Lord Navy Cut and pop it on. Okay, so let's just, it smells delicious, this stuff. It's a sort of basically a tobacco vape, but it has got coconut and a couple of other bits and pieces in it. And it's really, really quite nice. So we just basically dampen this all down. Okay, so let's pop it onto a mod. And now I haven't changed the setting on the Provari, so it should be the same as it was before, which I think was it 3.8, 3.9? Let's have a look. 3.9, okay, so 3.9, and this is a 1.4 ohm coil. So let's just pop this on here, just pull this back a little bit. And see what happens. Well, yeah, plenty of vapor seems to be coming off it. So I think that smells nice as well. So I think that should be okay. So what we'll do is we'll now put the lid on it, or the top on it. Now what they do say is, and this is always the case really, that looking at it this way, obviously this air hole needs to go directly opposite the coil here. So the way they actually explain it on their website is that if this post here is at 9 o'clock, the coil has to go, the hole has to go at 11 o'clock, okay? And what that will then do is that will mean that the hole is directly in front of the coil there. So let's pop that on, and that should be about, hang on, let's see. Yeah, it should be about it there. So we'll pop that down. And that should be it. So I'm just going to put a little bit more liquid in, and then we'll have a vape of it and see what it's like. By the way, this is the liquid that I put into it, Navy Cut by Mrs. Lord. Mrs. Lord as a range is just fantastic. For me, particularly the custard cream, I think is extraordinary. But this is Michael's favourite, so this is what we're going with. So this is essentially Michael's setup, because he has a Provari as well. Now whether or not he's running it on the Provari at the moment and what size of his coil, or what ohmage his coil is, I'm not sure. But this should be very close to the Michael experience. So I just want to see now what it's like. So here we go. It's a fairly tight draw on it, but there seems to be a fair bit of vapor coming off it. and it's really, really good flavour. Now, as a flavour, I've had Navy Cup before. It's not my favourite of their range, as I've said, but I know what it tastes like, and I know what it tastes like in other things. And the taste on this is really, really good. I have to say, the taste is really coming through on it. The other thing is that obviously nowadays with rebuildable dripping atomizers, you're getting all sorts of dual coil setups, and you're getting, you know, sort of different sizes of holes, you know, and you get slidey things that you can turn around to sort of vary the size of the holes in that. With this is very, very basic. I mean, you're set up with one size and that's it. And if you want, you know, a freer draw than what this is giving you, because remember, this is only taking its air from here. It's not taking it from the bottom. You're going to have to drill it out. And drilling or filing out these holes can be like pretty scary, because if you get it wrong, then you're screwed, you know. So, you know, taking that into account, and the fact that that hole is smaller than I would normally be using on a dripping atomizer, it seems to be pretty good in terms of the vapour it's producing. Because the more air, the bigger the hole, the more vapour. Basically, that's the way it works. But on a normal mouth to lung inhale, that works really, really well. Now this is a 50-50, by the way, just so that you know. 50 PG, 50 VG. So let's see what it's like if we go for the lung inhale, which seems to be growing in popularity. It's not something I generally do or particularly like, but let's just see what happens. And obviously with cotton, the good thing about cotton in a microcoil is the fact that it tends to keep up with what it is that, you know, you're vaping, because it's so absorbent and it holds so much liquid. It just seems to be able to keep up with no matter what abuse you give it to. So I've just put a couple more drops in there now, and let's see what happens. There's plenty coming off that. Oh. For a long inhale, this really isn't the job, not with a hole that size, because it's too tight to do it. But if it's just a normal sort of mouth to lung inhale, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So, my view of this, I think it's great. I think it's very, as I said before, it's very basic, it's very simple. It's not going to be for everybody. You know, you can look at it. If you like simplicity, then I think it's great. You can get this in a range of different colours. You can have the aluminium anodized, so there's a range of different colours. Obviously you can put different drip tips into it as well, so whatever it is that you happen to like, you can put your favourite drip tip into it. It doesn't, I've been using it for a couple of days now, and it doesn't appear to leak. So, you know, obviously if we overfill it, there's a chance that it's going to start leaking out of the little hole here at the side. But the O-ring, there's only a single O-ring at the bottom holding this on, and there's no well at the bottom, as I mentioned earlier on, but it does seem to contain all the liquid in there. It doesn't seep out of the bottom. So, just to give you the prices on this, what you need to do is basically go to the Clockworks site, and the address is wherever it is there. Steve is the guy who makes them, and I think what you do is you contact him there. There's a contact Clockworks here button on it, and I think that's what you essentially do, and you put your order in. Price wise, for the RDA, which is this, the natural aluminium one, is £30, so that's £30 sterling. And the anodized version of that, so in other words, in getting it in different colours, is £34. Now they also have an RTA, which is a rebuildable tank atomizer. And that costs more. I don't have one of those, so I can't really show it to you, but essentially what it is, it's like this, except it's got a tank. So you know, you can put a reasonable amount of liquid into that. And they are £50 for the basic aluminium one and £54 for the anodized version. So that's it. I mean, in the end, this is very much down to what people like, as far, you know, from an aesthetic point of view. I think from a performance point of view, it couldn't be simpler to set up, frankly. You know, it is so straightforward. It vapes extremely well. I mean, the flavour is great coming off it. There is the size of that air hole, which is something that you can sort out yourself if you want a bigger hole within it. But in terms of something, you know, nice and simple, straightforward, that gives you very good flavour, very good vape quality, I think it's really good. I can't fault it. I think it's excellent. So if that's your kind of thing, if you like the look of it, if you want something very simple to set up, then I think the Clockworks RDA is maybe the one for you, and certainly is the one for Michael. So whether or not it's the simplicity aspect of it which draws him to it, I'm not really sure. But either way, I'd just like to thank Dave for dropping it into me to have a look at it. And for Michael for being such an evangelist, because, do you know what, I think it's really nice when you're on forums and you're on various, you know, Facebook pages and that you get people who, they've just come across a particular, there's so many devices out there, there's so many different atomizers out there. It's great when you see somebody who's landed on one that they absolutely love and they talk about it all the time or whatever. Now, it might not suit you, but for whoever it is, because we're all looking for the perfect vape. We're all looking to try and find the thing that just works best for us. And in Michael's case, it's this. And I think it's great that he's found it. And I must say I really like it. And I will be sorry to see it go back. So I may well be getting one myself. So that's it. Hope you learned something from that. And we'll catch you again soon. Cheers.